X-Men 97 is now streaming in its entirety on Disney Plus. I just watched the season finale of it, and in fact, I actually did a full season binge of this. I watched all 10 episodes at once, which was not something I originally planned, but then I don't know why, for some reason I felt like just watching all of it in one go, which is why I have a lot of thoughts to share on it, and there are going to be spoilers in this video. You have been warned. This takes place right after the end of the original animated series, which was from 92 to 96. Those seasons told their story, and this picks up where that one left off, with the death of Charles Xavier, and now the X-Men without a leader. Humans have not been very receptive to them, and the tensions between them are at an all-time high. And as mutants are trying their best to make relations happen, more enemies are on the rise who are trying to make sure that they are stomped down, and the X-Men have to save the world from whatever annihilation event is coming next. I actually remember seeing the original cartoon when it was on TV many years ago. I haven't gone back to it in such a long time, and it's something that unlocked a very specific memory in me. I feel like this is something that most people will probably sort of relate to, but there are some things you don't forget. I remember the opening titles. I remember that theme song. It's hard to sort of detach yourself from that. I feel like everybody in their life, if you just go someone on the street will immediately go so it's one of those recognizable things. But going into the show, I had no idea what to expect, because this is something that people have asked for a long time, but I was also wondering, well, how exactly are you going to pull this off? And I have to say, after watching X-Men 97 in its entirety, at least season 1 today, I am very happy with this season. I love this. In fact, I would go so far as to say this is one of the best things from Marvel Studios in at least the last 5 years. Now, this is not particularly connected to the MCU. There's a couple of things here and there which you might see as little nods to things. Like there's a shot at one point where you see the Watcher in the sky that seems to hint at the fact that this is in a parallel universe, which you can probably pull off right now because we're in that multiverse stuff. It also doesn't require you to rewatch the original animated series if you haven't in a while, or if you never have, though it definitely helps if you know something about the characters before that. That being said, they do sort of clue you in when it comes to certain things. There'll be moments where characters are walking around something and, sort of in some place, and they'll go, oh, this is just like the time that I was there with this particular character, and we did this and we did that. Those little tidbits like that will just kind of, stick out, just to be like, if you haven't seen the show, just to let you know, not a completely unfamiliar location. And I thought the show did a really good job of that. I think Beau DeMaio, who did the writing and the showrunning for this particular season, did a really great job of constructing the world with these characters. And there's a lot of love given to each member of the X-Men. It's not like any of them are sidelined in any particular way. I feel like by the end of this season, everyone got more than a moment to shine, and everyone had their own separate plot lines that were not always connected to the main story, but they managed to feel just as interesting and just as compelling, and never took away from the pacing of any sort, which is actually something that is kind of commendable, because sometimes those are the things that often get criticism. It's like we have this subplot going on with Storm because she's lost her powers thanks to the Executioner, which is this guy who, has these neutralizer effects loaded up. And in an assassination attempt against Magneto, the shot hits her. And then there's an entire subplot with her and Forge as she's trying to rediscover her powers. And we spend some time with this. And it's not connected to the main thing. The main thing is what the X-Men are also dealing with on the side. And yet, it never manages to be another plot line. It still manages to stay focused in a way that you're as invested in it, and it never takes away from anything, which I think is a really, really great thing. There's also subplots going on with Jean Grey as she's finding out that she's not the only Jean Grey. There's also a clone of hers, Madeline Pryor, and there's a lot of confusion because how long has she been a clone? How long has the real Jean been out of commission? Is the son that she has had with Scott what exactly is going on with that. And of course, we have a whole plot line with Nathan Summers, who, as many of you know, is Cable. And I like the way all of these plot lines were individually constructed. And like I said, every character gets a chance to shine. This one definitely gives a focus to some very specific ones. For example, Magneto gets a lot of shine over here. I really love what they did with him as he's trying to play things in a way that Charles Xavier would have. He's like, look, my friend is gone, but he always said to try and, find a common point, try to diplomatically do things with human beings. I'm going to try my best over here as much as I feel like there's no hope in this entire scenario. And I like the way that they eventually tilt things so that that doubt returns. It's like, I tried my best. You're not listening to me. I'll talk more about what does that in a bit, because it leads to maybe my favorite episode of the entire season. But I really love that character arc, which I guess I may as well talk about that other thing now, which is the other two characters who get a lot of shine are Rogue and Gambit, their relationship, or as it's, sort of fraying apart because Rogue has also been with Magneto. But it leads to this culmination point as Genosha is declared a part of the UN. And it's a big moment because a mutant nation is being done this way. And a massive thing that happens in this show is that place is attacked by this massive sentinel that seems to be, indestructible, and it kills thousands of mutants and it causes a bit of a genocide. And it's a very affecting episode because in order to save everyone, Gambit, who we've come to care for so much as a character, and there's so much to him, sacrifices himself to save everybody. It's a very emotional episode, and the way it ends is extremely dark. I mean, you see multiple characters get wiped out. There's this particularly heartbreaking moment before the Gambit moment where Magneto is with a mutant child and is like, I will protect you, nothing will happen. He says that before. And yet, in that moment, he fails. And it's kind of writing that's in this is far more intricate and mature than I was expecting. This really surprised me. Throughout the entire season, all these 10 episodes, I went in expecting Saturday morning cartoon stuff, which you would think would be the case, right? And you do get some of that, for sure. There's a lot of fun, cheesy stuff that definitely taps into that. There's a whole episode before the Genosha one, in fact, which is Jubilee and Roberto, this boy who is also a mutant with solar powers. They're both trapped in a video game by Mojo, and they have to fight their way out of it. That entire episode is a lot of fun, and it definitely feels like, this Saturday morning cartoon kind of thing, where you're watching that and you're kind of having cereal to it. And so the show manages to have that particular aspect of it covered as well. But it does lean into the darker storytelling as it goes on, particularly after the Genosha incident, and then everything that transpires after that is also extremely well handled. I also think Cyclops was done really well here. This is something that I've been asking for a while now. It feels like there were certain things with Cyclops over the years where everyone just kind of looked at him as a joke, where no one really wanted to give him sort of the respect that I guess he deserved. I know a friend of mine who really liked Cyclops, and you sort of talk to him about it. I remember this from school. It would still be like, really? Cyclops, you really care about this guy? It's like, who cares about this guy? And I feel like there's a right amount of respect given to that character in this. And his entire arc with Jean is really nicely handled. Wolverine is always great. Can't get enough of Wolverine. Logan is one of those characters. He remains, a staple of X-Men. Can't have a show without him. Morph. Really liked that character. Loved what they were able to do with different personalities, different powers, and that stuff that they brought to the team. But since we're on this, the another thing that I did really like about it was how they even gave time to the villains to get some kind of development, like something to care for. Like you know for a fact that Bolivar Trask invented the Sentinels. And you know that they're coming back in this and things are going horribly wrong. And in your mind, you already know that Trask is the bad guy. This is something the show makes very clear. It's like, you don't trust him. He is someone who is, wants mutants to be suppressed and to be taken down. But when he witnesses certain things, even he has to take a step back and go, I didn't want that though. I didn't want something like a mini genocide to happen over there. I said I wanted them to be, to suffer, but the creation has gone past that. And when you see certain things like that, it's just extremely fascinating because you start to see limits tested of each character, especially when it comes to asking about, what it means to be a hero, what it means to even be a villain in this case, which I really like that they did that. There's also a whole arc with Bastion, who is this ultimate villain eventually revealed. Like this is his entire master plan, sort of, orchestrating things so a certain future happens. And the way that's also done is extremely interesting because you see a kid who didn't really stand a chance, was kind of pulled into this scenario where only one way was carved out. And eventually, because he's this hybrid of, of machine and mutant and human, there's this aspect of him which feels extremely heartbreaking. But then he does enough brutal stuff throughout, especially with, destroying an entire nation, that you can't help but, also be like, well, yeah, but also you suck for this. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? So I again, it's just really good handling of the show. If it feels like I'm sort of writing out my thoughts right now, it's like it's just sort of spilling out. It's because, again, I just watched all of this in like one go. The action is extraordinary, masterful animation throughout. It looks so good. And I mean, it's a very nice throwback to the 90s. It really does feel like it's pulled right from then. And some of the visuals definitely do illustrate that quite remarkably. I really love that as well. Really, this entire show is a beautiful love letter to X-Men. I loved pretty much every single thing about this. I don't have many issues with it. Like a couple of minor nitpicks here and there. Not much with Mojo. Like I said, that episode might feel like a vacuum episode because you're done with that and then moving on. Nothing of that really impacts anything going forward. It really feels like a fun episode before things went to shit. But like I said, it's a show that originally the creation was Saturday morning cartoon, so it felt like a little, tap into that zone for a bit as well. So I really appreciate that. I liked how the season just ended with the asteroid M situation. I also love those emotional moments, like especially the family dynamic stuff, which is built between Cyclops and Jean and Cable, because that is their son. And there is that disconnect because it's like, you just sent me off into the future. You said you were sending me with someone, but I ended up alone. And I've carved out this future for myself that's so crazy that I've come back to try and stop it from happening. But at the same time, there is that bond that forms between them. And there's a big, lovely scene between them towards the end where it's like, I think this might be goodbye, and, I think last time we made that mistake. Wonderfully handled that they were able to do that. Forgot to mention Charles Xavier. He is still alive. I loved his reveal. I thought that was really cool with the Shi'ar people. And I liked how that dynamic went as well, and exploring that side of it. That might have been the only episode where I felt like it wasn't as well paced as maybe the other ones. But regardless of that, I still did enjoy it. I mean, really, like I said, I'm sort of running out of things over here. Charles and Magneto's arcs, I still think, is one of the best in comic book history. I love that dynamic between them. I think it's wonderfully explored, and once again, it's wonderfully explored over here. I can't wait to see season 2. Apocalypse is going to be the next one. The moment they went back to Egypt in 3000 BC and you see the fight going on, and then they ask what his name is, and he goes, my name is Ensaba Nur. I said, oh, so that's what we're doing. So, okay, great. Season 2, here we go. Thumbs up on X-Men 97. And I'm gonna give this season 1 an A. Damn good stuff. I am happy. I am pleased. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more videos very soon. Let me know what you guys think of X-Men 97 in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on the entire season as a whole? As always, if you like this, please do subscribe. And to me, my X-Men.